All right, so let's do the recording so as people who are not in today can follow our discussion. Okay, so we had last time we had outlined a bit of a plan, what we wanted to achieve, and we have now the board and the things that we put on the board. We can now continue or start working on those tasks and extending those tasks. So the question for me, maybe from the ethics program mentorship things like, Walt, you've been invested into this the last week. So are there any topics from your side? Is there some new discoveries?
So I've been looking at libp2p for the last week, yeah, and very interesting, but there's still quite a lot that I need to understand about it because there are a lot of new concepts that I may have understood theoretically, but then putting them into practice is another thing. So I've played around a bit with some of the examples they have. For example, trying out the MDNF chat examples and trying to code my own host, do some connection with my Raspberry and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm still in that universe trying to understand the entirety of the, not the entirety, but most of the library and see what could be useful for satellites.
Okay. And regarding, so we had on our task board, let me just share this with you. We had this task board. Let me just wait a second. And all right, so we have the Harbor satellite backlog, and we've been looking into, I mean, those tasks are mostly ready to be picked up. So one topic is the RFC proposal, and the other, I think, did we make a note about the investigation between Crane and Scopio? Was there something that we wanted to have as an item?
I did investigate both a bit, try to use them a bit, and we could probably add an item, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe just Scopio or Crane. Okay, yeah, so this is something that we need to make kind of a bit of a decision here. Okay. So yeah, and then I would, before we can move the task into ready, we need a bit of a workflow. And I want to say that, we can already start with the project, kind of setting up the project repository and everything. I think everyone here should be able to have access to the repo, or at least be able to create a PR. So if you want to start with setting up the kind of a scaffolding application, you can do so. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I can look into that.
So this can be something that we can look into that. And then I would say the next one would be the RFC proposal to the Harbor community. I think this is actually yeah the most important part for you, Walt, to accomplish this as soon as possible. This one.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
this will open up the discussion also within the community, and also like the feedback round on what we need to change, because before that it's going to be difficult to start with the implementation if there are some unanswered questions. So this is be something important.
Yeah. Did you manage to take a look at the document I shared last week?
Yes, I did so. Let me share this. How did you share it? It's a Google Drive, right?
I think just email.
Email. Okay.
It was an attachment.
Okay. Yeah. So let's walk over it together then, and then we can take a look at what we see. Okay.
Hey guys, this is Naveen. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Couldn't join the earlier meetings because of my personal situations. I had a tight schedule with my personal things. Um, I didn't get a chance to even go through those previous recordings. But I was hoping if I can contribute wherever and however is possible,
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can jump straight into contributing, right? So we have already created a little backlog of tasks that we need to do. So there's basically, let's say, not so many tasks that are topics related. Mostly of them are like those basic things that needs to be done.
Okay.
And like, setting the project and like sandbox environment and things like this. So like the initial flow that we need to create here, and you can already start with that, right? You can put the tasks in ready mode, add some documentation or explanation what you want to do, and you can start, and then we can keep the discussion.
Okay. So just a question. I've used both Scopio and Crane. I think which is Crane with so if anybody has not picked up, I'll be happy to contribute there,
Sure. If you have some notes on between comparing Crane and yeah, just go ahead and make your comments, right? So it's
Okay.
more of a, for us, a decision to understand which option is the better one, or which option does fulfill our requirements. Yeah, and it's about that one.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, now this is the bachelor thesis part from Roald, and we can walk over it together. To see if this is kind of what type of feedback do you require here? Just
like in the general ideas, this describes what I'll be working on if you agree with this, since you'll be you're the mentor.
All right. I think we're all a bit mentors here, but I'm the one that's responsible. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this looks good for me.
It's mainly because we looked at this with my teacher and Jean-Pierre here, and we kind of also wanted your feedback on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the question regarding AWS. Okay, so it's available resource as well. That doesn't mean that you need to use them, right? It's just what you have available.
Yeah, in case I would need it.
Okay.
And this
Okay.
could probably be done through 56K.
Yeah, and also like the software stack. I'm not sure if you want to point it out that you have a harbor available that you can use, right? That you don't need to install it yourself if you don't need to
Okay,
do
yeah.
so. I just might kind of input like, what do you get from on infrastructure?
Mhm.
Okay, and then yeah, from my side, it's good.
All right,
I think
perfect.
it, if anyone else has some inputs as well, go ahead. I think it makes a good bachelor thesis. Um, okay. Yeah. So I think then do I need to sign something?
No,
Or
that's all good.
okay, good. Okay, so I think we should then get started with the kind of basic like say basic project setup, right? Like setting up the code repository with a Hello World application to see that we can structure this correctly, and then we can also use the other parts then. And but most importantly, at least for Roald, is the RFC, so that we can kick off the discussions with the other maintainers and also people from the community to see how the reaction is to the proposal. Okay. Yeah. So what about the others? Are there any inputs, Florian or Jan, from regarding?
Yeah, I had one. I have one. I mean, um, just after talking to people at the KubeCon, and especially people from a French company called Thales that
Mhm.
does a lot of stuff. They had a presentation about the edge computing. So they had a particular input. I think it is really interesting. I'm not
Mhm.
sure if Harbor Satellite want to answer that issue or not, but in their situation, they needed to be sure that the image was pulled before a pod was scheduled in their clusters at the edge, which meant that they developed some kind of controller that was used to give a state of give an image status inside the cluster. I'm not sure if everybody follows, but that means that before scheduling something inside the cluster, um, um, the image had to have the status of being available inside the cluster which meant that it had been pulled, it had been replicated from their master registry before that. Was
Okay.
it clear or not?
Yeah, I understand because I heard something similar as well. I'm not sure if it was the same person, or maybe it was you
Okay.
that told me that. But so there's like this requirement that, as I said, that you want to make sure that the image is present before you schedule it. And the other requirement was, because I think it's the same person, is that you want to make sure that the image that you have is actually complete, right? So because they have some cases where it is indicated to be present in the registry, but when you try to pull it, it's just partly there. Things like this happened in the past, and before you want to schedule it, you want to be 100% sure that this image is actually kind of there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. And I thought that in our use case, we didn't have that issue because I believe we haven't faced it, but it's the kind of thing that we're going to need in the future. So, I mean, for our company, for SNCF. So if Harbor Satellite has a way to answer that concern, that could be very useful for us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's what I had in mind.
Okay, maybe we can kind of get this on, yeah, I don't know, on the board somehow.
Yeah.
Kind of a requirement. Let me just quickly get this into project. Just why is it? I'm okay. I'm working on the wrong thing. It's okay. Issues. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll create a new issue that label requirement. Yeah. Okay, let's do it kind of a requirement. And create a new issue with that. Mm. Mm. Yeah, one was complete and yeah. Mm. Okay. Okay, I'll create a new requirement for that. What else? Yeah. Did we had any other inputs or discussions regarding that from the KubeCon?
Not right now, not from me.
Okay. Okay. Good. So I would say then, I think we don't have any other topics that we can discuss on PRs and things. So I would suggest that if you have some inputs, like if we want to move things from backlog to ready. There are sometimes the text missing, so I think extending text and then move it to ready. I think you should be able to do it yourself, and then we can see that we have a kind of a initial project for the next week, and the RFC as well. Okay, yeah, from my side, I mean, we don't have to do it all the time now. David, thanks you very much for joining and being
Sure.
present with your help. I had a chat with Philip. It was very interesting, and we had a kind of a brainstorm about the possibilities of the basically the Spiegel library and the extensions. So he kind of mentioned that he might be able to even work more time on that, so which is good.
Sure. If the plan is to keep using libp2p, I'll start showing up and I can help knock down any roadblocks.
Okay, great. Yeah, then from my side, if there are no other topics, we can wrap it up for the day.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Vadim,
you very much.
Yes. Yes.
if we have
Thank you.
other requirements or stuff like that, you want us to directly log in some new issues?
Exactly. Yeah, just go ahead, put them in, and then we can keep the discussion there, and we have a track record or track of the issues, and then we can later on we can start to prioritize them and see which of them are more important than the others.
Yep. Okay, great.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice afternoon. And bye-bye.
Same.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oksaba, you're there. Okay, I didn't notice you.
Sorry, it was a wild afternoon, and I got here 25 minutes late.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, so no problem. I was we've been looking at the board, and I wanted to reach out to you and see if you could help out with a Golang
Yeah.
setup.
For sure. I actually wanted to ask, but I can just ask on the issue so that we keep note of it. Like, do you want any specific setup for the linting or for Dagger that you want to see, or just go with tried and tested?
Yes, try to see if this is kind of making the first steps. I think this is the thing that we should go ahead, and then also see like a project structure. Like there is not so much options in the Golang world, right? I think every option should be a good start. I mean, there's just like maybe two options, right? I'm not exactly expert on that, but so far that I know, there are not so many kind of widely different variations here. And so we can just get started, and then
my idea is to just get something out this week, both so for the workflows, that's relatively simple. The linter is in the workflow. If we don't have to do any custom config on it, even simpler. There's nothing to template with Helm, so that cannot be really done. There's no application, so there's nothing to containerize.
Exactly.
Evaluation of the Docker registries, that is, I think, a group effort. ADR, and I can already come up with something in the repo on the docs path or whatever. So that just to have a template. Investigate, that definitely needs like group input, because I don't feel comfortable doing any of that on my own. But the workflow and the linter, that should be done this week. No problem.
All right. Yeah, that's good. I mean, we can kick off discussion. There are different variations of that. I think like having it in the Git repo is a nice thing, but maybe it's also okay if we just put it under documentation, right? So that we have it starting with the documentation, and then move this then to the repo further.
So
it depends.
The problem with the MADR kind of setup and pushing it to the repo is that it's not very collaborative, right? Because you can only do it on the pull request, and that's a bit wonky. we could do it in a Google Docs and just distill it into a more condensed variation of it in the actual MADR.
Mm-hmm.
Or
we can-
here, yeah, but it's the suggestions and everything and the change tracking, I think, is much more intuitive. But we can start here, and if it doesn't work, then we can just pivot either way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
What I'm what I would be more interested in is, I think there's already a couple of topics that have come up in our discussions, and I imagine that you've had even more at KubeCon. So I think we should have like a priority list of what to discuss and with whom, because you don't necessarily want libp2p guys. Well, of course they can attend if they have infinite time, but you know, most of us don't have infinite time to be in everything. So just having a priority list of that, and having at least an agenda on how we're going to tackle all of these things would be a good place to start. And then we can continue the async discussions for the RFCs.
Okay. I think like outlining this thing on the roadmap would maybe a good starting point, right? To see like what needs to be addressed first.
Well, like what are we even trying to build in the first place? Because we've talked about it quite a bit, but we need to kind of like distill it down, you know, to digestible tasks.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. You mean the areas of the scope areas, right?
So we had the 4 things
that
we've discussed, and I think those could be milestones. It makes a lot of sense to have them as milestones. And then you can group the tasks underneath that and the requirements as well underneath those milestones.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
This is just an idea, because it feels like we're a bit stuck. Of course, KubeCon was last week and everyone's busy, but like it would be nice to see, okay, so the satellite is the first milestone because everything kind of depends on that. What do we want it to do? Like what you've discussed at the very end when I got here would be a good thing to have on that. I'm not saying do it in a user story style of fashion, but it would be nice to know what exactly this thing needs to do and what are the real life requirements that it needs to fill.
Yeah. Kind of an architecture bit. Okay.
Just a question, maybe a silly one. So can I go ahead and work on the Scopio and Crane?
Sure.
Just to clarify, so that is Scopio and Crane, right? The Crane from Google and the Scopio is from, I think, Red Hat.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to work on something which we are not going to use. That's why I know.
No, I mean, like there are currently 3 options, right? The third one would be to do it yourself, right? And but I'm kind of would like to explore those options first and then see which one
So just to bring in my knowledge on this, I work for an edge company. We have a edge setup and they're using Docker, not the cubes at this time, but they are shipping the containers using protobuf. So they're zipping it and using the protobuf to copy it from the cloud to the edge. Even in a Flatkey network, they are doing it in a very slow and steady pace and getting the container out there. If you are thinking to build, would want to go in that route, not just protobuf or anything like libp2p or something. This is just that we have used, and I kind of know a bit how they've done. That's why I thought I would share it that.
Okay, I mean, it would be definitely helpful to understand how you're doing it and what are the kind of the benefits and drawbacks of that.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think like wrapping it in a different format would make sense. I would kind of stick it with OCI, right? Because from efficiency reasons and also like transparency. But yeah, we can take a look at that, right? If you have some inputs and you want to share how you're doing it, yeah, I think it's definitely makes sense.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, by the way, Scopio with the O in the end, and Crane with the C with the C, not a K.
No, okay, I was thought it was.
Because that's where I got confused. Sorry about that. Okay, thank you.
Do we
you're
understand
welcome.
what the use case is, so that you can compare the feature set?
Yeah, I'll write it. I mean, the use case is, I mean, yeah, I can write it. I mean, why not? Just go ahead. So so our use case is thing that we would like to achieve. It's programmable, right? Can be used as an SDK, right? Then the configuration, it can be done with an API, right? So I think this is my core requirements, and then the other ones, like if we have it running, so I would like, of course, it should kind of move images around, move OCI artifact. This is obvious. What else? Like moving artifacts around, and maybe remapping artifacts. I mean that, yeah, like kind of remapping artifacts, and then yeah, kind of so this is so my broad requirements in here. So yeah, like to see how we can use it programmatically, how we can create an API, not only configuration, or use the API for configuring it, and yeah. So this is kind of my core requirements.
Wouldn't checksumming come into play as well here, or am I completely off?
Yeah, I mean, if it supports, it's a bonus, right?
I mean, for image consistency reasons that you've started discussing at the end.
Yeah, image consistency verification.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it does, then we have a problem less to do this, right?
Yes.
Yeah, just to make a bit. That's good. Yeah, thank you for the input. That's great. Okay. What else? So we have this top, this. So this is like the things that jump into my mind. Maybe I'll have some more.
Do we care about footprints in terms of memory or whatever resource consumption?
I think network footprint is very important, because on edges you will have very bad bandwidth, or maybe the traffic costs a lot, especially if it is a satellite network.
Yeah. I think kind of not linear memory consumption, right?
Yeah. Compute is very gold.
And just thinking out loud here, we're one directional, right? This is a pull through mirror, basically.
Yeah.
So basically it cannot reach back in the other direction as well. So you have to be mindful of the network traffic direction.
Yeah, but
Does it
this
need?
is
Yeah. Okay. No. I understood. Like when I said it out loud, I understood it's not a thing. Yeah. No worries.
okay. Yeah, and then kind of a resumability, right? So can low bandwidth kind of
Low bandwidth or intermittent
dealing
network.
with low bandwidth networks. Resume. What do we have? Resume. Yeah.
Although something does come to mind, it will need to open connections on the host, right? No matter what.
Outbound connections, yes.
Outbound. So privilege required is also a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Because it's not that straightforward. You need to do some Linux PID magic. Well, not PID, you know what I mean. What ping does basically.
Yeah, I mean, like when you interact like an application depending of course on the configuration, but normally an application can go out to the internet, right? So it's there is no need to special network connectivity or permissions like you would need on it if you want to run Docker container with elevated permissions. I think none of those tools have this requirement.
Okay.
So a normal user should be able to use them.
Okay.
I think the problems comes when you, as a normal user, want to kind of move things in runtime or from runtime where you don't have the permission. Like if you want to move from Docker local runtime into somewhere else, and the process doesn't have permission to do that, then it's from. But we don't have this. I mean, we have like registries in user space, and also the application is in user space. So I think it is not an issue here. But good point. Yeah, low end bandwidth devices makes sense.
Just trying to think about how this can break horribly.
I think memory can be a problem, right?
Yeah, like
sometimes
footprint, network, yeah, privilege we talked about. They won't try to open ports. Yeah, no, okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Below 1,000 and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it will just do out ports. It will not have open ports for incoming connections, because this direction is clear. We want to have only these connections.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think this would be already a good start to understand the parts here.
Do we need to worry about pathing at all? File pathing?
Yeah, this is the remapping artifact.
Okay, gotcha.
So this might be some, let's say, I wouldn't like to have this, but I fear that a lot of customers will have this as a requirement. I mean, yeah, and if it's supported, yeah, we can delay this functionality for a later stage and have it then. But I think in the first stage, it should not be something to worry about. But it should be definitely something to have it in the future.
Vadim, do we have an idea about what we need to build on top of the functionality that we're describing here? Like what we know for sure needs to be implemented on top?
On top of like for sure, you mean on those requirements here?
Yeah, so we know that it has to be able to do these things, but if it was able to do everything, then we wouldn't need to build, that component in Satellite. So you probably have to build on top of this in a manner.
Yeah. On top of this, you need to have a kind of a wrapper around that one that will translate the data from Harbor into commands for Scopio and execute them.
So that would be something really useful to write down, because that is going to be the first piece of Go code I think that we'll write. That wrapper.
Yeah, exactly.
So are you saying these are all the must-haves and these are all nice to have?
I mean, it's not relevant for the comparison of Skopeo and Crane, right? I think it's just more kind of a, like, what is the first step to implement once we make a decision?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to put it together in my mind. So let's say we did the evaluation, you make a choice, super cool. And then what's the next step? The next step is actually start using it and then build that wrapper around it so we can, translate the commands from Harbor. And that would be the first piece of.
This would be the first piece, yeah. And then we would need to have the left side, or the Harbor spec side. We need to have it a bit flexible in a way, because it's not yet clear what the format will look like, right? And how will we get the data, in which format? So if it's just, I mean, I assume it's just a list of images, right? Like an image name, like a flat list. But it could be also different. It could be structured. So that we need to have some flexibility on the left side,
I
because it's
actually
not.
thought about that.
It's
Sorry,
not.
go ahead.
Yeah, it's not yet clear how this will look like.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that over the past couple of weeks while we didn't meet.
Yeah.
Because that's logical grouping of edge compute, basically, or edge runtime. And maybe I spent way too much time on DNS and core DNS these days, but it reminds me of zoning in a way.
Okay. Okay, zoning.
So you could do it similarly to how DNS zoning is like conceptually done. So you would have a zone for a set of edge devices, and you would have another zone for another set of edge devices, and then you would like pair the list of images to that zone definition that you have.
I'll need to take a look at this, because I don't know the DNS part that much. But I think I try to understand, if you say zoning, like DNS zoning, also for grouping.
Yes.
I'll try to look this up and see how this can be helpful.
No, so don't do it like DNS, but the idea behind
I know
how DNS zoning works.
Yeah.
Or like or how CNAMEs work. Then you could have, a fleet, and you could have many zones associated with that very specific CNAME.
Okay. Got it. I'll note it down, and I'll also take a little research on that, and also see how we can, like, I need to understand a bit on the Harbor side what we need to change there as well, right? And I would like to do it as least invasive as possible. So we need to kind of figure out how this can be done, and then also like labeling. Is a topic, labeling or bagging. Like you can put grouping, labeling, bagging. Like all those concepts here might be also relevant on.
I thought about that as well.
Yeah.
Like Kubernetes does with the selector syntax for
this
labels.
Is a good point. Yeah.
But the problem, so the selector syntax is not hierarchical, right? It's a match.
Yeah.
You can do some fancy pattern matching on it, but in reality, is it or isn't it? But I think for this use case, based on the little knowledge that I have, it's more about hierarchy and grouping them on a connected manner. But maybe I'm wrong. For me, labels work well when all the resources that you're trying to handle are equal citizens in that sense. So you're trying to pick a group out of one big group. But here you want to be able to differentiate between, I have my fleet. I'm thinking in naval because that's what I work with. I have my entire big fleet, and I have the Pacific fleet, and I have the Atlantic fleet, and in the Atlantic fleet, I have the North European fleet. So there's like a logical, almost tree-like structure to it. And I'm not sure how you could do that with labels only. You could, but then the label would contain that hierarchical information, because the ship label would be Atlantic North Sea blah blah, and then it's one big string, and then you have to do complicated pattern matching on top of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes sense, but I think what I got as input is that you have like scenarios where you would like say, I have this factory floor in Italy, and this is customer B, right? So they have like the Italy part, and then you have the customer part, right? And you want to have like mixture of both. So something like this might be also kind of relevant. And so I'm looking into this option to see how we could maybe implement something, or which option is the best. But then we need to also get some more feedback from the users.
Data modeling would be nice for this, or like have an idea.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right. Okay. Thank you for the input. And yeah, let's see that we have something working until next week, and also make some updates and also the requirements. I made some note to myself here, and I'll put in more things there. Okay then.
Okay.
Right.
I'll
Thank you, everyone.
I'll add myself to the pipeline, the plumbing tickets.
Perfect. All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.